Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the largest tablet we've ever tested. It's the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Ultra, and we're here with a device which measures 14.6 inches in diagonal. It's one of the largest tablets on the market. It's also an interesting choice this year because Samsung opted for a MediaTek processor. It's a slim device with a metal body and it's got an S Pen at the back, and it also has Galaxy AI, which I haven't seen so far on such a large screen up until now. Okay, so I've just unlocked the device with my face. Other things you should know here is that we have a huge 11,000 mAh battery. We also have 4K capture on the front and back camera, dual front camera, dual back camera, quad speakers on board, IP68 certification, and you can add a keyboard to it, turn it into a sort of laptop with a special Galaxy AI key. So let's get straight to it. So the pen, as you can see here, attaches to the back magnetically, and it charges when you do that. I'm going to put it to the side for now and talk about the design. As you can see, we have antenna lines on the back side, and the body here is made of aluminum. It's a solid aluminum chassis which measures only 5.4 millimeters in thickness. Now, keep in mind that the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra was 5.5 millimeters in thickness and the iPad Pro 13 is 5.1. So you can even go slimmer than this. Although at such a large diagonal it would make it fragile. It feels pretty sturdy and well built, but I'm not sure that jerrying everything wouldn't break it if you really try to. It's quite a heavy tablet at 718 grams. You can really feel it, especially if you're holding it with one hand, as I have done while I was taking photos of it. So yeah, 718 grams, just so you know. It seems to be a bit lighter than the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra. It's got glass at the front, but the protection is not clear. Samsung hasn't been very outspoken about the protection it employed on this version of tablet. The front side draws quite a few fingerprints, as you can tell when I'm powering off the screen, so if you have greasy palms, be advised, you're going to leave fingerprints on it, quite a lot of them. The bezels are very narrow, so much so that you may feel that you're trespassing with your fingers sometimes, but the palm detection is quite decent. IP68 means dust and waterproofing, and the device is available in gray as well as silver. Okay, so that's it as far as the build is concerned. Solid, water protected, but however quite heavy. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, it's pretty much the same thing as the one as the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra. It's a dynamic AMOLED 2X, 14.6 inches, 120Hz HDR10+, and a 90.7% screen to body ratio. Resolution is 2960 over 1848 pixels, and the experience goes something like this. Obviously a very crisp panel, definitely a joy to get to enjoy Netflix movies, games, what have you on this panel. Also do some editing, photos, videos, drawing, Galaxy AI things, wide view angles for sure. So the view angles are quite wide here. And aside from that, very vivid colors and a decent contrast and a lot of brightness. Even in full sunlight, the screen remains legible. So I think I'm going to opt for not auto-rotate, but rather landscape locking right now. And once again, pretty satisfying screen, but let's see what our tests have revealed, because we did those and we have them here. So when it comes to the brightness, we achieved 687 lux units, which is above the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra and the Huawei MatePad 11.5, but below the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro 12.4 and below the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2. A lot of settings for this panel here. So if you go here, and then if you go here to the display section, you got your brightness, adaptive brightness, motion smoothness, which is basically the refresh rate, which can be set to adaptive or standard. You got your eye comfort, you got your screen mode, which can be set to vivid, natural. You can also change the white balance and also mess around with the screen cutout, which, by the way, it's a bit ugly, this cutout we have here, which we used to see back in the days of the, well, iPhones. Now, if you move past the screen and go inside the tablet, we're greeted with something atypical. Usually Samsung opts for a Qualcomm or an Exynos CPU. This time they opted for a MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus processor. It's a 4nm octa-core chip with a GPU called Immortalis G70 MC2. It's also present on the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus and a Vivo IQ-Pad 2 Pro, just so you know. It's accompanied by 12 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM, as well as 256 GB of storage. And guess what? We even have a microSD card slot. Plus, we're also getting a version with 512 GB of storage or even 1 TB if you're opting for that. I should probably mention that the tablet doesn't overheat and doesn't suffer from any problems while running games. As Star Wars hunters, we have here Diablo Immortal, Asphalt, or Age of Empires Mobile, so for gaming is just fine. However, we did a throttling test and the results weren't that flattering. So if you go here and go to the benchmarks, we have the throttling test here. As you can see, it's at the bottom of the top 10 with 28% performance loss here. As you can see, it's left with 72% performance after 15 minutes of CPU throttling test. Now, other than that, it's got a solid performance. I mean, in Antutu 10 is on the first spot, in Geekbench 6 first spot again, so it beats the iPad 10 2022. All the Huawei MatePad Pro we've tested, even the recent ones, this year's Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro, so basically #1 in all of the tests, including the 3D ones. As you can see, it's quite high performing and doesn't sacrifice temperature because in benchmarks we achieved 26.2 degrees Celsius, so it's doing fine. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, you don't see every day such a huge amount of milliamp hour. I mean, we are talking about a huge 11,200 milliamp hour unit which charges at 45 watts via wire, and it's exactly like the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra, just so you know. There's no charger in the box, and we did a battery test which showed us 12 hours and 3 minutes of video playback. I mean, not the best, but also not the worst. It's above the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro 12.4-inch edition, and also above the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. It's below the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE Plus by 2 hours, and also below the Huawei MatePad Pro 12.2 Papermate. Now, we see the continuous usage test where we have 8 hours and 34 minutes, which is a bit more underwhelming compared to our expectations. It's above the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra and above the Huawei MatePad Pro 13.2. However, it's below the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro 12.4 and the Galaxy Tab S9 FE Plus, which, by the way, it's placed very high here with around 13 hours, which is quite impressive. Now, on the charging front, we require 2 hours and 5 minutes, which is actually impressive for such a large diagonal. And after about 30 minutes, you're 28%, after 1 hour, 54%. I honestly expected more here, particularly in the continuous usage, but at least the charging is fine. And now let's talk about the acoustics. Now, as far as the acoustics are concerned, we're having here a quad speaker system, which is tuned by AKG. So we have one speaker here, one speaker here. There's one here and one here. The tablet is so skinny that we don't have an audio jack as expected. And as usual for a Samsung device, there's plenty of settings and options related to, well, the sound experience. So sound quality and effects, we got Dolby Atmos, we got an equalizer here, which is sub options like balanced, bass boost, dynamic, treble boost, clear, and so forth. Adapt sound, loudness normalization, and so forth. We're also using a special, we're going to see now, music test in a minute. A very punchy bass and a pretty high volume. Be advised that if you're listening to metal music with a lot of guitars, there may be some distortion at maximum volume, so keep that in mind at all times. Pretty satisfying experience, although I feel I've heard louder tablets over the past year. Quite a few Huawei ones, and not only Huawei, Xiaomi too. A lot of presence from these speakers, but once again, be careful with the metal guitars. Keep them at about 70% volume. We did some tests with a decibel meter, and this is what we achieved. So if you go here, the volume power, the top 85.4 decibels with an acoustic sample, and at the bottom 85.5, quite equal. I should mention that this means we are above the Huawei MatePad 11.5, but below the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro 12.4-inch. When it comes to multimedia, which basically can be gaming in the game Asphalt 9, 98.1 decibels, it's above the Xiaomi Pad 6s Pro 12.4 and above the Galaxy Tab S9 FE Plus. It's below the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus and Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. It's top 10 material at least. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we have a lot to talk about. So you can see here at the front side that we have a cutout for two cameras. Each of them has a resolution of 12 megapixels here. So the main one is a 12 megapixel shooter with f2.2 aperture, and the other one is an ultra wide 12 megapixel f2.4 aperture with 120-degree capture. It does HDR and 4K capture 30 frames per second. At the back side, once again a dual camera, this time with LED flash. There's a main 30 megapixel camera here, once again 13 megapixel camera with f2.4 aperture and autofocus. The other one is an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera camera with f2.2 aperture. These two capture videos at 4K 30 frames per second. Now the options are pretty straightforward. We got portrait, we got video, we got a pro mode, we got a pro video, single take, night, food, panorama, hyperlapse and portrait video. So yeah, there's that. Plus this extra here, a bunch of filters and face detection and more. I actually took a bunch of photos on the balcony to the camera. I actually tested it. I found it to be at about the level of, let's see, Galaxy A25, Galaxy A34. That's where we're at. Good separation of the subject from its background. A nice cut for the bokeh. Now, as far as the the back camera is concerned, a decent set of colors and close-ups here. So you can definitely take solid photos of food, of objects, of things like that at the balcony. Once again at the level of a Galaxy A25 or 35. Some photos with the sun in front of us. Not bad photos for a ultra-wide camera, I'll admit that much. We also took a video or two, but nothing out of the ordinary here. At best at the level of a Galaxy A34 or A35. So that's my impression of what we achieved here. Okay, so this is one video, for example. Some stranger exposure here and there, but it's a tablet in the end. Okay, so that's about it camera-wise. Now let's talk about connectivity and finally software. Now, as far as the connectivity is concerned, we have here the Wi-Fi version of the tablet, but there's also a 5G one. The device comes with Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS, GLONASS, BDS, Galileo, and no NFC, just so you know. The port here is an USB-C 3.2, and we don't have ultra-wideband, so yeah. On the connectivity side of things, you can also see options here. We have got quick share, music share, auto switch buds and more. These are the connections that we have. And finally, you can also do calls and texts from the 5G version. Once again, we have the regular Wi-Fi one. We did a speed test and these are the results we achieved. We got up to 752 megapers downloads, 886 megapers uploads. I would say we're doing fine. And finally, here we are with Galaxy AI. It's Android 14 at its core with One UI 6.1.1. We still have those windows at the side and we also have the stylus here used to, well, draw things on the screen. You can start drawing right from the get-go and draw a funny creature like this and then generate it like this. That's one of the aspects of Galaxy AI. You can do this either as I just did or in a document or even in a picture. Apparently it understood that it's a giraffe. You can also change the styling if you want to. So let's say I don't want 3D cartoon, I want an illustration. I can generate it like this. These are multiple versions. One of the best things I did here, I actually took a screenshot of the thing I did. Let's see it. Okay, so we have a huge amount of screenshots, but some of them stuck with me. It's this one here. So this was a lemur at a zoo where I went to. I drew this creature here and it understood to create this. And guess what? I actually did it again, and at one point in time I actually created another lemur next to it, which is actually kind of cool. Okay, so that's one aspect of the Galaxy AI. What more we have here? Well, among other things, we also have the interpreter. So you can speak in one language and get a translation in the other language. So I say something in Romanian, it translates to Italian. Unde se află cel mai apropiat supermarket? And so on and so forth. You got a large variety here of options which you can translate to lots of languages. And aside from that, one of the features I like the most is this one here. It's a voice recorder where you can actually record your voice and then have a transcript and then have a summary of that transcript. It's useful if you're a journalist, if you do interviews and things like that. These are the voice recordings and these are the transcripts, and you can even do the same while in a document. So let's say I'm in a document and I want to add here a voice recording, a PDF or things like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I work with Romanian a lot here, that's my native language, but I also work with English. So we should have here. This is, for example, another one of those things you can do with Galaxy AI. I press here and I can either auto format, summarize, correct spelling or translate. With summarize, you can generate a summary of your text, which is useful for students. And you can see the article here. Other things I can do is go here, press here, and I have a composer, writing style and spelling and grammar. I can correct the spelling and grammar. I can change the writing style. This is the original, we have a professional, we have a casual, and I can use Composer to, for example, write a post about the US elections. So I ordered it to write a post about US elections, and I can generate it now. This is the message about the elections, and I can actually change the tone. Can be set to standard, email, social media, or comment. Can set it to social media, can be polite, casual, or professional. Now it's a social media post, this one about the US elections. It's that time, everyone, etc. You can also use this in Gmail, in Facebook, social networking apps. You can also translate from chat apps, WhatsApp and Facebook, translate in real time. These are just some of the aspects you can play with Galaxy AI. And of course, I can take a photo of myself and convert it. So for example, I take this one here and I press on the AI button. Well, not this one, but rather this one here. And it's something called Portrait Studio. And I can create a comic of myself. Some versions here. We can also do watercolor. We can also do sketches. So no need to go to that guy in the park who draws people. Okay, other things here. I'm talking about the handwriting. I did quite a bit of handwriting. This is hi guys, how are you? I can press here and actually can press this one. I can align the handwriting and I can also convert to text. Hi guys, how are you? It understood what I wrote here, and I can have this option here for a smart guideline. You can align the letters, fix the shape of the letters, you can change the language here, and you can write and convert it as you go. So these are some examples of what Galaxy AI can do for you. I'm sure I've missed some. Now, aside from that, we have your classical multitasking features. So for example, let's see, if I'm pretty sure you can split the screen by doing this. So if I press here and I do this, I have a split screen in two. And I can go through the settings and go to the pictures however I want to. Of course, I can also have a third window here, and I can have a floating window up top of them to make the experience even more complex. So yeah, that's a three-way split window. We also have that taskbar here which appears and can also be kept handy. So you can also have a small taskbar here. And if you're missing a desktop experience, there's always DeX available, so you can choose that one. Okay, so DeX. With DeX, you can simulate the, well, desktop environment. You can have windows like this and close them with an X. You can have overlapping windows. You can resize them. You can make them smaller or larger. You can close them, move them around. If you connect a mouse and a keyboard, you're going to feel as you were on a desktop. And at the end of the day, when you're all done, you can get rid of DeX. We also have Gemini here. You can ask it questions. You can also have it generate a variety of things. Write an essay about Cleopatra. Generate an image of a dolphin with a cap. I said cap, actually, not cat, but still, let's actually see, curious about it. Oh, that's actually kind of cute, although the dolphin is not very photorealistic. And aside from that, we also have circle to search. So for example, let's say I'm on Instagram, I see something interesting. Like, for example, I see an actor here, like Sylvester Stallone. I keep this pressed. I can actually circle around him. And yes, it's Stallone, and you can even see the TV show, and you can have an expanded search. And using this one, I can also do translation. And speaking of translation, you can also go here and translate whatever website you want. I have a summarize and translate feature in the Samsung browser pre-installed here. So a lot of things you can do aside from your typical note-taking and scribbling and writing. By the way, speaking of note-taking, scribbling and writing, I have here a PDF, actually a white paper related to Li-Fi, which I can actually work with. I can translate it in real time, I can annotate it, and I can do a lot of other things with it. I can do templates, I can invite collaborators, I can do editing, I can add shapes to it. So yeah, you can also work with PDFs. When everything's said and done, it's a productivity tool, and if you attach a keyboard to it, you're going to also get a special Galaxy AI key. Now we're at the end of the review, and it's time for the pros and cons. Now on the pro side, it's obviously Galaxy AI. It's got a bright and crisp screen. The S Pen is excellent as usual, very responsive. A solid build. I would say that the speakers are quite powerful. Excellent multitasking with a split screen and DeX and keyboard and so forth. Gemini is useful as well. We got useful translation features, and the tablet is quite a powerhouse when it comes to multimedia, both creation and consumption. On the cons, there's some throttling for the CPU. We don't get a charger in the box. The device is kind of heavy and kind of big. There's not a big performance jump compared to the predecessor. And if you have a Tab S8 Ultra and Tab S9 Ultra, they can basically do the same things. I would also have to say that the battery life didn't impress me, and I find it weird that the fingerprint scanner is here somewhere in the screen, not in the power button here. I actually opted for face unlock. At the end of the day, if you have the Tab S8 Ultra or Tab S9 Ultra, well, you can stay with those and have pretty much the same functionality. If you want it more future-proof and if you want to actually make money using the tablet, if you're a creator or maybe an entrepreneur, you may want this device. Keep in mind it's heavy, above 700 grams, so you should take that into account when buying it. But it's a rather solid build, a good rival for the Huawei MatePad Pros out there and for the iPad Pros. The largest tablet I've tested so far and the most powerful as far as AI goes. That's it from us. Goodbye.